Yeah, obviously for us, just incredible night, and to come out the way that we came out, I think was just a huge credit to our three seniors. They came out here and they played a lot of emotion, a lot of energy in those first 2 to 3 minutes, and I think just the way that our players competed, the energy, the deflections that you saw in the first 18 minutes was just a huge credit to those three, because we talked about before the game about just laying it out there for these three, the love that we all have for these three, and I haven't seen us play like that in a really, really long time. That was a lot of fun to watch. We knew Navy would make runs. They're obviously a really well-coached team and some really, really gritty and good players over there. Didn't feel like we guarded the arc very well on occasions, especially the last 2 minutes of the first half. Let them loose, and they went from having 11 points to having 19 in about a minute and a half. So we had to regroup a little bit at halftime, and I think we gave them a little bit of confidence. They made their run, but I was proud of our kids for getting some stops when we needed them, and I thought we hit a few big shots as well. I still say that the wins record is really cool. I think for the first time we actually acknowledged that today. Awesome, but I think so much for me looking at it in the last couple of days was knowing, because it was mentioned that it was coming up, but wanting to be able to have a senior reception after our game today and be able to talk about our three seniors of what they've done over their careers, to be able to sit here with their friends and family and say, this group changed this program. This group came in here, set the wins record. And, I think they'll also be the first to tell you that we've had some pretty good senior classes the last 3 years that have really set the foundation as well. And I remember talking to those seniors over the last few years that when the big things happen, not that we're there yet, but when the great things happen at Bucknell here over the next few years, you need to take credit for that. So I think this was all about our three seniors tonight, but I think there's also a reflection because of the win total that I think we are also giving some thanks to the last few senior classes as well.
I mean, it's always a dream as a college basketball player to have a great season, to win a championship, to win a league, and it's crazy that it's actually happening. Like, all the hard work we've put in over the 4 years to change the program is finally coming true, and it's great to see it actually happening in front of our eyes. It was awesome. It was a bittersweet feeling. I don't think we've all three ever really played together, so it's kind of emotional, but at the same time, we know that we've put in the hard work this season. Not everyone has been able to play together, but it's been a rough ride, and to be there together out there on the court is awesome.
We had to score again, and I think so much of that run, I think they were up 17-4 during that one time out that we had kind of figured out what the run was that they had put together. Obviously, when that's happening, you need to talk about getting stops, and I thought we really, really guarded the arc very well for the first 18 minutes. And, as a coach, you don't want to be defeatist, but when they knock in those 2 threes at the end of the half, and just out of really 2 uncharacteristic mistakes on our part, obviously those count as 6 points, but the Sanders kid, who's been a fun player to watch for me, she gets that open 3 when we weren't able to match up after a made basket right before the half. And in your mind, you're like, that's only 3 points, but is that going to get the kid going a little bit? And she did. She was feeling it in that second half. Shot the ball very well. So that was a really tough cover for us. She made us change a few things. But even some of the other players, we lost some players at the arc, and then they were scoring at the basket and they were scoring on the arc. And when they're doing that, they're a really, really tough cover. And obviously they dug themselves a hole, but I think they have to be proud of the way that they bounced back today as well. So we had to get stops, but I think the other end is we had to start feeling a little more comfortable offensively. I thought we were rushing things, and everybody, it wasn't a selfishness, it was everybody kind of saying, I can stop the bleeding right now. I got a good matchup. I'm a good player. I can score. You want that confidence. I think we just need to kind of play collectively confident as a team, that know that we have 4 other kids out there that we can put something together if the ball just moves, and that's something I think I've learned with this group over the last few weeks is it's not always what you're calling, it's kind of putting them in different spots and then letting them play together. It was, and obviously watching the game, you have to think back, and it's saying December 30th on the bottom of the film as you're watching it. It does seem like it's a really long time ago. And I remember kind of going into that game as a coach and not knowing what our identity was, not knowing if we were just a 500 team. We were 6-5 at that point, going into at Navy, which is a really tough place to play against a well-coached, tough team. And I remember winning that game thinking, oh, wow, that was a huge win, not knowing it was going to propel us into anything else. But just getting that one win was huge for us at that time. But you start to see some things in that game, that even starting the game, and there's a different lineup than what we ended with. And I think the lineup that we ended with that game is a lot of what you're seeing right now. So I think we kind of came to form a little bit during that game. It was tough watching McGurk during that game because obviously, we don't have her right now. And she played really well, especially defensively. And so some of the things that worked that first game worked because Megan McGurk was out there. So I think it was a little bit of a reminder right now for us as a staff of, yeah, we have had to change some things. Maybe we do need to tweak a few other things, because we don't have Megan out there anymore. But I think just collectively as a team, I think we have found our identity a little bit. I think we're a lot stronger offensively. Losing Megan still has had an effect on our defense. Playing freshman has had an effect on our defense. But I think just a proud moment as a coach to be able to watch that game, knowing what we are right now and kind of seeing how far that we've come. I think we've talked all year about not thinking about a banner, not thinking about a championship. You're thinking about that next game. We need to focus on the next game, but I think it's now time that we can, not that we'll talk about it, but I think in our minds know what that next game means. So we've got to approach the game just like everything else. I'm not going to lie to you, with one game going into it, I've been sick of looking at that, up above our rafters for a while, that we haven't had a banner here in the last few years. And, Army's a really, really good team. You hate sharing anything, but they're on a ridiculous run right now. That's one of the best teams from my account and other people telling me one of the best teams that's ever been through this Patriot League. For us to match that, I think that'd be a huge thing. They have some work to do. We obviously have a lot of work to do. I thought Lafayette was a really tough matchup for us this past Wednesday. Another really good coach that'll prepare for us well. But yeah, if we can come back here and know after Thursday's practice and look up in the rafters and say, hey, we know a banner is going to have our name on it, I think that's outstanding. At the same point, knowing that there's still some work to be done after that as well.
Awesome. It definitely would leave our legacy back here at Bucknell. It'd be great to come back and see the banner hung and know that we were part of that team here and shape the culture to hopefully hang more banners in the future. But right now, Coach is right. We do have to focus on what's ahead of us at the moment. We can't think about the league champs or the Patriot League champs or any of that ahead of us right now.
Yeah, it's been huge. Obviously she's shooting the ball well from the arc, which makes her a really tough cover. But I think especially even finishing around the basket. She's one of the better finishers I've ever been around. Been able to coach. So we got to get her some more opportunities down there. But she's got to kind of get back to being a little more comfortable around the basket. I think when you're a freshman, you think you're trying not to step on toes, and I think we kind of have to remind her that we want you to score. We need you to score. It changes how people can guard Klotz. It changes how people can guard Debs. So I think she's got to understand we want her to score. She maybe hit a wall, but I think the other part of that, too, is she was playing through some injuries, which, maybe some other players wouldn't have fought through what she was going through. But I think the other part, too, is give credit to Sune. I think Sune was playing really well during that stretch, too. And, we went from who's going to be our second post to feeling like we had a stable right there that could help us. So I think some of that was Caitlin. Some of that was being a freshman. Call it a wall. But I think a lot of it, too, was, I think we had some production from that post position that kind of maybe shortened her minutes a few times, too.